Hello, it's me, Robin, with Simple Food, Simple Life. Today is a very exciting video, and you're not going to want to miss it. I'm going to show you the ways you can save your produce, in most cases without freezing or canning, and make sure that we can turn those green tomatoes into red tomatoes and maybe be eating a delicious sliced fresh garden tomato on New Year's Eve. All right, stick with me because this is something you're going to need to know and you're going to want to share with everybody else. Okay, what you see before you is a paper bag. This bag originally had bunches of bananas in it a long time ago, but I just happened to save the bag because sometimes when I have tomatoes that are green and they're not ripe yet, I like to put my tomatoes in the bag, put them in a dark place with a reasonable temperature, and let them turn green. So let me show you. I have to clip the bag closed, but it's not tightly clipped closed. And I was given some green tomatoes by my daughter and her husband. I had separate out all of the green tomatoes, and I put them in this bag, close the bag up as you see here, put them in the basement, and a week later, this is what I have. I have beautifully ripe red tomatoes. This tomato here happens to be a black creme. There was another tomato which was large and beautiful. I'm sorry, I ate that already on tomato sandwiches, so you don't get to see that one, but it was tasty. All right, now then, let's look in here. All I did, I kept it down there from Saturday till Saturday, and I checked it every day or so, made sure that there weren't any that was going bad, and all of these tomatoes are ripe and beautiful, so I'm going to put these in the refrigerator. Now then, this is what I want to show you. There's several methods you can use to ripen your green tomatoes. So if you are disappointed that that you have a lot of green tomatoes and they're not going to have a chance to turn red, ripen on the vine, don't worry about it. We've got ways to make them turn green. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate to you today because, as you saw previously, I have so many green tomatoes and they were given to me, and now we're going to store them in such a way that they can turn green, and you're going to love it. Okay, I've taken these out of the sack, and I'm going to put a lid on these. These are going to go in the refrigerator because I want to keep them. I don't want them to ripen anymore. Most of these were completely, totally green. There was a few in there with a slight blush on them, but that's all I did. Put them in the paper bag, clip it together, put it in the basement for a week. Okay, I've got my bag here. So we're going to bag ripen some tomatoes. I'm just going to put some tomatoes in here. I'll put the green ones on the bottom. If there's some that are like this, that have a blush on them, then I will put those closer to the top. And for this particular bag, I'm just going to put in small ones. Okay, like that. There's a variety of tomatoes here, so it doesn't really matter that much. Now here's a larger one. Okay, we're going to put that on the bottom. Now, some say that you should leave the stems on. Others, it doesn't say. And frankly, I always take the stems off because I think that I always felt like that matters. But it doesn't matter really, I guess. But I just like to take them off. You could do whatever you think. So I'm going to fill this bag up, and then we'll be back. The important thing is, if there's some rotted parts or they're really, really blemished, you might want to leave these out. You can try it if you want to. I had some in this bag as well. But if the skin is broken, do not put them in the bag because they'll probably rot before the other ones get ripe. Now these that have a little color on them, I'm going to put them on the top. And I think that's probably just about all my bag is going to hold. Let's see. Because I want to be able to close it. I can see that it's a little snug, so I'm going to take a couple of them out. Maybe a couple of the bigger ones. Here's a bigger one. I'm going to take it out. There we go. Pop that one in there. Now then, I just want to be able to close it and clip it shut. I think that'll work. Okay, now that's good enough. A little airflow is great. Now then, it doesn't matter what kind of a paper bag you use, as long as it's not some kind of a coated, you know, got a coating of some kind on it. Now then, I'm going to use this bag. I've never used this bag before, but I think it would be fine to use it because it's a grocery bag and air will be able to flow through there. Okay? So I will use this one to fill it up with tomatoes as well, and then I will clip the top in the same manner that I have done this bag. So just use whatever bag you think. If you have paper bags are great. I know they work. I have done this method of ripening tomatoes for years, and it always works. So I'm going to store this bag in my basement because it's dark down there. It usually stays about 70 degrees down there, and I will check my tomatoes every couple days. These should take about a week or so to ripen up. Okay, here we go. Now that's about as full as I can get this bag and still be able to clip it shut. So I'm going to clip this shut, and these will go down into the basement. Now we're going to demonstrate the box method for ripening tomatoes. Now I have never used this method. I've used the paper bag method for a very long time. I've heard about the box method for keeping fruit and other things. It's sort of equivalent to, I don't know, maybe like a root cellar. When I was a child, I heard about this method of wrapping fruit and other items in paper, never tomatoes. So I did a little bit of research, and since I have all of these tomatoes, I decided that I'm going to try this method, and just it's a new adventure for me too, so I have no guarantees, but we're going to give this a try. Now I have some newspaper here. This isn't all the newspaper, but funny thing, I went over to my neighbor's to see if she might have some newspapers she wants to get rid of, and she did. So I brought the newspapers home with me, and the caveat is that she said, "Would you like some green tomatoes?" And I said, "Sure." And so she said, "All right." She went back, got me the green tomatoes that someone had given to her. And I said, "It's this huge bag here." And I said, "Oh, take out what you want first." And she said, "I don't want any of them." So I said, "Okay." And then she said, "So good luck." So here they are. So, bonus. Okay. So, I'm going to show you how I perceive that this is done. here's the box I'm going to put them in. Now, according to what I've read, you take totally green tomatoes, they're completely green, and I perceive probably larger tomatoes, and you wrap them individually in newspaper and put them in layers in the box. Now, they recommend that you don't do any higher than 3 layers. Not exactly sure why that is, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 3 layers of the largest tomatoes and the largest totally green tomatoes that I have, and I'm going to put them in the box. Now, instead of tearing the newspaper or cutting the newspaper, I'm going to use my letter opener here, and I'm going to do it like this. I think that's going to be easier. Now, I'm just going to assume that because I'm going to use some big ones, bigger, larger tomatoes, that I'm going to maybe need, I don't know, 1 sheet of paper. Now, I think a person could use other paper. Like, I've got some old printer paper that I haven't used in years and years. I could use that. I don't know about wrapping paper and things like that because sometimes they tend to have a coating on them, so I'm not sure. I was going to buy some of those cheap lunch bags they have at the dollar stores and just buy a package of those for cheap, and they're just little brown paper bags, which you could take the tomatoes, the large tomatoes, put it in the brown paper bag without cutting anything, and then you can wrap your tomatoes like that. So if you have something like that in the house, I think you can use that. Now, let's give this a try here. Okay, my tomatoes wrapped up, and I'm going to put it, I don't know why, but I'm just going to put it stem side to side down, okay? And I'm going to make sure my stems are off because, well, let's face it, it's going to make it easier to wrap. So I'm going to continue on. I'm going to wrap them up until I have 3 layers in my box. Now, the premise of this is you can preserve your green tomatoes without turning them into something else. They are allowed to ripen slowly if you keep them in a cool, dark place right around 70 degrees. They can ripen very slowly, and then over a period of months, you can harvest again your tomatoes from the box, and from what I read, you can have some nice fresh slicing tomatoes even on New Year's Day. And they keep for months and months and months. So that's the premise of this. So that's pretty exciting to know. So I'm excited about that. I'm not going to be able to show you the results of this for a very long time because my intention is to put them in the basement and just ignore them. Okay? So I'm going to continue wrapping here, and then I'll show you what I have. Now, this probably goes without saying, but if you have any tomatoes that don't feel firm as they should, or are the least bit suspect, do not wrap them. Okay? Because they could deteriorate in the box and you wouldn't know. Okay? So if you have anything that you have the least doubt about, do not wrap them. Okay, I've got my box of tomatoes wrapped up, and I actually used all the newspaper that my neighbor was good enough to give to me. So I have 3 layers in this box. This is a good sturdy box, so I know it's going to hold up. And I made sure there were no blemishes on these tomatoes, that they were fully green and didn't have a blush on them like some of these do. And I made sure that of course, they are not wet. You can wash them if you want to, but you don't have to wash them. Okay, you can wrap them just the way they are. You can take the stems off or you can leave the stems on. So I think it's pretty flexible. Now this is going to go into the basement. Now then, I read where one person said that their dad used to wrap the green tomatoes every year in newspapers, store them in a box under his brother's bed who was at college. So, and that's how he ripened the tomatoes. So store them where you feel like it works best for you, as long as the temperature is moderate and it's a dark spot. Now, also, store them in a place where you can easily access them to check them, okay? And I would say store them in a place that's not going to be subject to critters. That's just me. All right. There is one more way to ripen your green tomatoes, or some of your green tomatoes, and you know what that is. So I'll show you that next. Here's a long-standing method for ripening your tomatoes on the windowsill in your window. Now, this does work, but I think it's much, much more effective if your tomatoes have a blush on them already. So, I'm sure that most of you are familiar with this method. Now, what's left in the boxes here and here, some of these are already ripened, but frankly, I'm just going to, at some point today, I'm going to pick up some of those lunch bags, those brown lunch bags I was telling you about. I'm going to pick up a package of those, and I'm going to store the rest of these in the brown lunch bags along with my other bags, and just keep those in the basement until they ripen up. That's just what I'm going to do. Now, you can do other things with your green tomatoes. You can make a salsa verde. Yes, I know it's not traditional, made with tomatillos, but it is good. And as long as you have the produce and you want to make that, by all means do. You can also slice your green tomatoes about 1/4 inch thick, and you can can them in the slices. Pint jars are good for that, and wide mouth preferably. And you can preserve them with a little pickle crisp, something of that type, and you can preserve them for fried green tomatoes. I can tell you they are very good. And I may use some of these for those. It just depends. Maybe some of the larger ones that my neighbor gave me. So, and then some of these will be used for juice or sauce or something like that. And you can also freeze your tomatoes. You can freeze your green tomatoes if you want to for future canning, processing, etc. You won't be able to slice them, but you can make a salsa verde out of them. So, before I go, I want to thank my son-in-law for suggesting to me that I make a video on these various methods of ripening the tomatoes and share it with all of you. So thank you, son. I appreciate it very much. And also, I want to thank them as well for giving me this produce. And winter's coming, right? So let's be thankful for what we have. And if you have an opportunity to either glean produce, no matter what it is, or someone wants to share it with you, by all means, say yes and do the little bit of work that it takes. I mean, they've grown it, or someone else has grown it and harvested it. And even if you glean it yourself, if you harvest it, it's worth it to have for in your food stores for future use, and to share with someone else. If you have too much, share it with somebody. I'm sure they would be very appreciative of it. Okay, that's it for me today. I love you guys. You know I do. I hope this is so helpful to you. Please, please, if you can like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, I invite you to. And please share the video because some other people need to know this stuff. I didn't know about the wrapping of the tomatoes. I knew they did it with apples, but I didn't know they did it with tomatoes. So I'm going to, I'm looking forward and excited to see what this yields. This is very exciting for me. So I love you. And if you do all these things, it helps me a lot. And, you know, you would help somebody else as well as yourself. It's awesome. So, you know, as always, that little is much when God is in it. Boy, ain't that the truth. Okay, I love you guys. I will talk to you later. And be sure and comment below and let me know what you think. Or if you have any tried and true ways to ripen those green tomatoes, share it with us, please. We all appreciate it. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.